Discover the incredible mindset behind 7 life-changing secrets of high achievers like Tom Brady. In the small town of Maple Grove, the crisp autumn air pulsed with the anticipation of that Friday night magic. Under the floodlights, the Maple Grove Eagles dashed onto the field, their roaring fans igniting a spark in the hearts of players and community alike. But as the cheers faded, Jake, a determined 16-year-old football player, faced the harsh reality of Monday morning. The whispers of doubt echoed in the hallways, a reminder that he was just a kid from a struggling town, where broken dreams lingered like shadows. Jake's heart raced, not from fear of failure, but from the weight of his family's expectations. Raised by a single mother, an unwavering veteran balancing 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, Jake felt the burden of responsibility. He wasn't just battling for a win on the field, he was fighting to show Maple Grove that their economic status didn't define their worth. The scars of prejudice prickled at his skin, chipping away at his confidence, but deep down, he was determined to prove them wrong. One fateful evening, while preparing for a yard sale in the attic, Jake stumbled upon a dusty journal, its leather cover cracked but still resilient. Inside were the words of his late grandfather, a forgotten football star whose name scrolled like an unnoticed note in Maple Grove's history. As Jake turned each page, he discovered 7 life-changing secrets that resonated within him: tenacity, integrity, discipline, and dream big, the traits that ignited legends like Tom Brady. With each revelation, Jake felt a warmth grow in his chest. His grandfather wrote passionately about never giving up, about what it meant to be true not just to himself, but to the people who believed in him. Every sentence added fuel to Jake's fire, challenging the doubts that clung to him like a heavy coat. He realized his struggle wasn't merely on the field, it was a proclamation of fight against the whispers around him. He was not just Jake, the boy from Maple Grove. He was the embodiment of hope and resilience. As a team, we have to fight, he declared during a practice session, recalling those fierce words of his grandfather. The air crackled as his teammates looked up, inspired. They too felt the weight of their town's economics, but here was Jake, his passion igniting a spark of belief among them. If they stood together, nothing could hold them back. The championship finals loomed, a chance to silence the naysayers once and for all, but a heartbreaking loss shattered their dreams. As the scoreboard ticked down, darkness clouded Jake's heart. Tears stung his eyes as his teammates' voices echoed despair. Yet in that moment of anguish, the words from his grandfather's journal rose to the surface. "This was not the end. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Rallying his teammates, Jake breathed life back into their dreams. They formed a bond fueled by their shared experiences, learning that their struggles were more than just about football, they were about challenging the world that refused to see them. Each practice transformed into a declaration against injustice, their solidarity weaving an unbreakable fabric of community pride. In the heart of Maple Grove, Jake stood ready, not just for football, but to prove to everyone that character outshined privilege. The scars of the past might haunt him, but they no longer defined him. Just as he read in that journal, the journey of a hero is filled with doubt, and Jake, filled with conviction, was about to embark on a path that would change everything. Would he rise against the odds and redefine what it meant to be from Maple Grove? The question lingered, heavy in the air, waiting for an unforgettable answer. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Jake and the Eagles. With the sting of their defeat echoing in his mind, Jake transformed that pain into purpose. Each practice became a battleground of sweat and grit, louder now with the roar of determination from his teammates. The gym echoed with the clank of weights, the thud of cleats on the turf, and the sharp shouts of encouragement punctuating the air. Jake pushed himself harder, using those memories as fuel to ignite his spirit. One chilly afternoon, the leaves swirling around in a chaotic dance, Jake led his team to a secluded corner of the field after practice. His heart raced, He could feel the weight of their collective expectations pressing against him, but there was something more powerful at play, a sense of hope. "Listen up, everyone," he called out. The soft whispers ceased, and eyes locked onto him. "I know we lost, and it was gut-wrenching. I felt every ounce of that defeat right here." He tapped his chest, willing them to share in that feeling, to understand its rawness. "But I also found something in it, and I want to share that with you." He opened up the journal, the pages worn but full of wisdom. As he read aloud the secrets his grandfather penned years ago, the group leaned in closer, an invisible thread of connection weaving around them. "Tenacity, integrity, discipline, dream big," he recited passionately, their collective heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of his words. Jake could see the change wash over their faces. Doubt was replaced by a flicker of belief, the mental barriers slowly crumbling down. This is more than just about football. It's about our lives, our futures. We are not defined by where we come from but by how we react to what's thrown at us. We can rise. A loud cheer erupted, enthusiasm piercing the gray autumn sky. That evening, the air crackled with potential like never before. The team huddled together under the floodlights, kneeling in solidarity. Groups started forming, the younger guys leaning on the seniors for guidance. They taught and learned from one another, faces lit with determination. Days melted into weeks, and as they approached the next game, a palpable buzz surrounded the town. The Eagles were ready to prove they were more than a passing team. They were family, and together they stood taller than any scoreboard could measure. The tighter they grew, the more their hearts beat in sync, echoing louder than the names of their rivals. On the night of the game, the stands bristled with anticipation. Maple Grove embraced their Eagles, and the atmosphere felt electric. The painted faces of fans reflected their pride, chanting their anthem with relentless spirit. Jake glanced around, taking it all in, the energy surging through him like a tidal wave. But as they stepped onto the field, a cold flash of doubt flickered within him. Was he enough? Could he carry this weight? Just then, he caught a glimpse of his mother in the crowd, her face beaming with love and support. That simple glance ignited a fierce determination within him. He took a deep breath, the air cold and crisp, filling his lungs with hope. A smile crept onto his face as he locked eyes with his teammates. The whistle blew, and the game began. The tension snapped, and with each play, they built momentum, pushing past their limits. When the first touchdown was scored, the roar of the crowd erupted like a symphony, fear dissolved into pure ecstasy, but just when it seemed like victory was within reach, disaster struck. A freak accident left Jake on the ground, his ankle twisted painfully to the side. As silence filled the air, the disbelief hung thick around him. Would this game be the end of everything he fought so hard for? The heart of Maple Grove held its breath, waiting for the next chapter in Jake's journey to unfold. Jake lay on the field, the grass cool against his cheek, a stark contrast to the heat of the moment. The buzz of the crowd faded into a muffled hum, replaced by the frantic beat of his own heart. Pain shot through his ankle, sharp and blinding. He scrunched his face, fighting against the fog of panic rising within him. Was this it? Every dream, every late-night practice, all for nothing. The coaching staff rushed to his side, their faces a mix of concern and urgency. Coach Ramirez knelt close, speaking softly, yet firmly. "Jake, breathe. You're going to be okay. Just focus on me." Jake tried to nod, straining against the agony as he felt hands assessing the damage. From the sidelines, his teammates exchanged anxious looks. Jake's absence in the game seemed to loom larger than the never-ending rows of fans. Whispers of worry filled the air, and he felt the warmth of the town's collective hope shatter around him. "Keep it steady, Jake," Coach Ramirez urged, noticing how Jake's breaths were quickening. "Remember what you always tell the guys. This is about resilience." The words resonated deep, and Jake focused on them instead of the pulsating ache in his ankle. As they lifted him onto a stretcher, Jake's thoughts raced. Would he let his team down? Would they still gather like they had before, driven by the hope and fire he had ignited in their hearts. The sight of his mother, standing at the edge of the crowd, her face now washed with concern, made his heart sink. He couldn't let this be the end, he had to fight back. They rushed him to the hospital, the sirens blaring, but in Jake's mind, it was his teammates' cheers that echoed loud and fierce. Images of their unified huddle flashed before him. Just moments before the accident, they had been unstoppable. Inside the sterile, bright room, the doctor examined him, explaining the injury. The diagnosis was clear: a sprained ankle. "You'll need some rest, Jake, but with the right care, you'll be back," he reassured. A sense of relief washed over him, like the dawn breaking after a long night. It wasn't career-ending. He could still rise again. Later, in the quiet of the hospital room, Jake gazed out the window, the moonlight casting shadows on the floor. He replayed the moments of the game in his head, the connection he felt with his teammates. This wasn't just about football anymore, it was about strength, unity, and finding a way back from adversity. The painful lesson wasn't lost on him. It was another chapter, and hearing that he would recover ignited a new fire within him. Days went by, and the Eagles played on without him. Jake stayed engaged from his hospital bed, following every score, every play. He became their biggest fan, cheering them on in spirit, absorbing every victory as his own. Finally, the day came for him to return to practice. Crutches awkwardly under his arms, he walked onto the field, wincing at the damp grass beneath his feet. As he approached, his teammates paused, their expressions transforming from surprise to unrestrained joy. "Jake!" They cheered in unison, flooding him with love and support. "Glad to have you back," one of the freshmen shouted, wide-eyed with admiration. But as Jake stood there, his heart overflowed not just with gratitude, but with a mission. He needed to share the lessons he learned during his time on the sidelines, about resilience, about facing fear. The injury could have broken him, but instead, it became a chance to build something more. As they gathered around him, he felt ready to take his place once again, not just as a player but as a leader. "Let's talk about what this means for us," he began, a hint of a smile breaking through the seriousness of the moment. Little did he know, the journey he was just beginning would transform not just him, but the Eagles in ways he could never imagine. But would they be able to harness the power of hope and unity when faced with their greatest challenge yet? Jake planted himself firmly on the field, crutches tucked under his arms, ready to face his teammates. The clamor of excitement that surrounded him was both overwhelming and exhilarating. He was back, and the familiar smell of grass and sweat filled the air, igniting a familiar sense of purpose within him. "All right, let's take a knee," he called, his voice steady, cutting through the anticipation that buzzed in the air. The team gathered around him, their faces a blend of support and encouragement. He could see the anxiety of the earlier days melt away, replaced by the eagerness for a new chapter. "You guys have been incredible," he began, feeling the warmth of camaraderie wrap around him. "Watching you all from the sidelines wasn't easy. I thought about this team and what it means every single day. But what I realized is that we're more than just a collection of players, we're a family." The boys nodded, smiles breaking across their faces. For them, Jake wasn't just back, he was a lifeline, a spark, a reminder of what they stood for. Jake raised his hand, "I want each of you to think about what you need to do to elevate your game. This isn't just my journey back, it's our journey. We have the chance to redefine what it means to be the Eagles." As his teammates shifted, eager to hear what came next, Jake felt the rush of passion swell again. He set the stage for the first team meeting after his return. It wasn't just about plays and tactics, it was about mindset, the kind of mindset that had kept him going during recovery. "Let's adopt a new mantra," he suggested, tapping his crutches lightly against the grass. "When we face a setback, we don't retreat. We rise, we regroup, and we come back even stronger. Rise, regroup, rise." A voice echoed from the back. It was Tommy, the freshman who had been watching Jake throughout his recovery. The chant took no time to catch on, and soon the entire team was repeating it like a rallying cry. Jake's heart raced, not with pain this time but with purpose. If he could help them focus on resilience, maybe they could thrive in a way they hadn't imagined before. As they broke the huddle, Jake felt a satisfaction wash over him. They were ready. That buzzing energy that had been missing suddenly filled the air, and it seemed the football gods were smiling down on them. But that was only the beginning. Soon, rumors started swirling in the locker room. A rival school had intensified their training, and whispers leaked out about their new recruit, a player known for his fierce competitive spirit. Eyes wide with unease, Jake could feel a rising tension that washed over the group, but he also sensed determination. Challenges were inevitable, and they would be tested like never before. The first game back was on the horizon, raising the stakes. They practiced harder, pushed each other further, and more than ever, Jake felt the weight of leadership bear down, the responsibility to not let anyone down again. The morning of the game arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. The town buzzed, anticipation crackling in the air. As Jake stepped onto the field, he couldn't shake the feeling that this match would reveal not just the strength of their team, but the strength of their hearts. Yet, shadows loomed. What lay ahead wasn't just a game, it was the test of everything they had worked for. Would they emerge victorious or be left vulnerable, unraveling under pressure? Jake inhaled deeply, his eyes scanning the crowd. He saw familiar faces cheering, but in his heart, an unsettling question took root: were they truly ready for what was to come? The stadium buzzed with excitement, the energy palpable as if the crowd itself was electrified. As Jake stood on the sidelines, crutches barely noticeable under his arms, he felt the anticipation in the air, swirling around him like a storm. It was a sensation he had nearly forgotten during those long, arduous months of recovery. Today, it wasn't just about him, it was about the Eagles, about his family. Once the whistle blew to signal the start, the tension shifted into focus. On the other side of the field stood their rivals, a wall of green jerseys that seemed to gleam in the sunlight. Jake's heart raced. He could almost hear the sneer of their star player, a fierce competitor known for his ruthless plays. Over the season, he earned a reputation, and with it, a massive target on his back. "Feel it, guys!" Jake shouted, forcing his voice into the rhythm of the game. As the ball was snapped, he watched every move closely. His boys were out there, but something felt off. The usual spark seemed dimmed, and the energy generated during practice didn't translate. A flicker of fear lurked just below the surface. What if the pressure was too much? The Eagles started strong. Touchdown after touchdown, they battled fiercely. But just as Jake felt their spirit lift, the rival team struck back. Their star player, a shadow moving against the kaleidoscope of colors on the field, made a break that left Jake breathless. "Focus, focus!" Jake urged loudly, though he felt a tightness in his throat. It wasn't just about plays, it was about heart, about believing they could win. The tide shifted in the third quarter. The Eagles were trailing, and whispers of doubt began to creep in, unnoticed by most but amplified by Jake's watchful eyes. During a timeout, Jake leaned in close, crutches barely separating him from his team. "Listen. Right now, it's not about what's on the scoreboard. It's about how we see ourselves. We're not just a group of players, we're a force to be reckoned with. You are strong. You are capable. Let us wreck that doubt together." With each word, he saw their faces reshape from concern to resolve. They bellowed their mantra again, a rhythmic chant that pulsed with newfound vigor. Jake could feel it, something between hope and expectation. They believed in him, and now, he had to believe in them. The game resumed, and every snap of the ball felt heavier as if it carried the weight of their dreams. With renewed energy, they surged forward. But the game was a fight, each point costly, each tackle fiercely contested. Jake sensed the uncertainty creeping into the locker room again. When the clock ticked down to the last moment, they trailed behind. "What do we do?" Tommy asked, his voice trembling with urgency. "We rise. We regroup. Jake bellowed, but deep down, doubts clawed at him. The last play approached. In that moment it wasn't just the game hanging in the balance, it was everything that defined the Eagles, every struggle and victory they had experienced together. His heart pounded as he willed his teammates to find the courage within themselves. The ball was hiked, and chaos ensued. The quarterback scanned for options, the defenders rushed like wild dogs. As Jake watched, he realized that this single moment would shape not just the rest of the game but their entire season. Would they step up, fight back, and define their legacy, or crumble under the weight of expectation? But as the play unfolded, Jake caught a glimpse of something extraordinary. Was this the awakening they needed? Would they break the cycle of defeat and transform into the champions he believed they could be? As the final seconds ticked down, Jake's breath caught in his throat. The quarterback, under immense pressure, glanced up just in time to see a gap open on the left. It was a golden opportunity. The crowd's roar surged to a fever pitch, a tidal wave of anticipation crashing down on the field. "Come on, come on!" Jake whispered, hands gripping his crutches tighter. The QB unleashed the ball. It spiraled through the air, a perfect arc drawn against the blue sky. Time seemed to slow as the receiver reached out, fingers stretching toward destiny. He leaped high, but the defender was there, an imposing wall of green. The clash was brutal, bodies colliding in an explosion of sound, a symphony of athleticism and will. The receiver fought for the ball, and for a moment, it looked as though nothing would break the tension, then a flicker of white. The receiver had it. He landed hard, rolling across the turf, the ball secured tightly against his chest. The stadium erupted into a cacophony of cheers, disbelief mingling with elation. The scoreboard blinked urgently, and as the final whistle blew, victory belonged to the Eagles. Jake's heart soared, tears brimmed in his eyes. This wasn't just a win, it was a testament to every hardship and every prayer offered during those long months of recovery. As his teammates flooded the field, the joyous chaos became a tidal wave of energy that pulled him in. They embraced, laughter and shouts swelling around him. It was a celebration of more than just a game. "Did you see that?" Tommy yelled, his voice hoarse with excitement. Jake nodded, though words escaped him for a moment. He was enveloped in a surge of pride, watching them dance, jump, and fall into each other's arms. This was what it meant to be a family, to rise together after being knocked down. But just as the thrill of victory engulfed him, a follow-up thought crept into Jake's mind, a shadow lurking behind the dazzling lights of success. What if this isn't the end? He pondered. He thought of the challenges still ahead, the pressure of expectations now magnified. The Eagles had tasted victory, but every jewel had its cost. What setbacks lay in wait for his team? The joy of the moment flickered, and Jake caught a glimpse of the reality that accompanied triumph. Thanksgiving was just around the corner, and it would take more than a win to maintain the newfound spirit. They needed to build on this momentum, to cultivate their success in their hearts and not just their record. As they made their way to the locker room, Jake met each teammate's eyes, absorbing their light, the joy radiating from weary, worn bodies that had fought hard and earned this moment. He realized that the essence of true strength lay not just in winning games but in nurturing each other, lifting one another up through every challenge. Gathered in the locker room, with fresh sweat glistening on their brows, Tommy addressed the team. "We can't forget what we did today. This isn't just a flash in the pan. We've got to keep this fire alive," and Jake's right. "It's about family." The boys echoed his sentiment, their voices rising in agreement. Jake felt the weight of his own doubts lifting. Maybe this was the beginning of something even greater. But just as cheers broke into laughter and playful banter, the familiar shroud of tension returned. How would they handle the pressure of being champions? What obstacles awaited them as they stepped into the next phase of their journey? With the uncertainty of the road ahead pulling at his heartstrings, Jake inhaled deeply, readying himself for the next battle. "Let's make this season count," he yelled, fist raised high. The room erupted once more, a roar promising more than mere victories, and outside, a chill swept through the evening air, whispering of tests yet to come. As Jake fell back into their camaraderie, one question lingered in his mind: could they handle the weight of expectations, and could he? The chapter of triumph closed, but the pages ahead promised both challenges and revelations. Would they be able to carve their names into the legacy of the Eagles? The first chill of November settled on the town, transforming the landscape into a tapestry of amber and golden hues. The football season had taken on a life of its own, and with the victory still fresh in their minds, the Eagles met to train harder, driven by an invisible thread of hope and determination. Jake arrived early, determined to soak in every moment, the sun casting long shadows that danced on the grass. As the team gathered, laughter echoed, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of pressure. Jake could sense it. The success of their last game lingered like an echo, but the weight of expectations pressed down hard on their young shoulders. He gripped his crutches, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. Would they still feel like a family when faced with the fierce storm of competition? Tommy was first to break the ice. "Alright, guys. We need to channel our energy. Today isn't just about practice, it's about proving to ourselves we can do it again. Let us show everyone that we're not a one-hit wonder." The boys rallied behind him, cheers mingling with playful jabs. But Jake sensed uncertainty simmering just below the surface. As they began to practice plays, Jake observed every move from the sidelines, his heart racing at the joyous chaos around him. He saw Tommy throw the ball with precision, the receiver catching it effortlessly, but sometimes there was a falter, a slip, a miss. A shadow crossed Jake's mind: what if the magic didn't hold? After a few rounds, the intensity ramped up. Jake could see the exhaustion creeping into Tommy's movements. As they huddled up, sweaty and out of breath, Jake spoke up: "Hey, we need to make sure we take care of each other out there. We can't just be a bunch of individuals. We're stronger together." His words hung in the air, a gentle reminder that every player mattered. But the nervous energy lingered. Tommy nodded, though Jake caught a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Yeah, you're right. But we also need to push ourselves. I hear the momentum shifting. Everyone's talking about us now. What if we don't live up to it?" A voice from the back spoke up, and silence fell over the group. Jake's heart thudded in his chest. The fear that swirled around them was nearly tangible. What if the pressure crushed them? What if their season became a burden instead of a celebration? Jake took a breath, letting his emotions settle. "We can't let fear define us. We turned it around. It's about coming together and remembering what brought us here in the first place. Every practice, every game, we rise and fall together." They nodded slowly, absorbing his words, but Jake could see a seed of doubt still germinating in the back of their minds. As practice resumed, he continued to watch from the sidelines, noting determination mingled with apprehension in each play. The feeling in the air was electric, yet uncertain. As the practice wrapped up, Tommy called the team in. "We're getting close to Thanksgiving. Let us make it count. Let us bring it all together for each other, for our families. No matter what happens, we've got to hold on to our bond." With that, the boys jumped into a final cheer, a united front for the challenges ahead. Jake joined in, lifting his crutches in the air, feeling a swell of hope despite lingering doubts. But as they broke apart and headed towards the locker room, a sinking realization joined him: Thanksgiving would soon test the foundations of all they'd built. Would they truly stand together when everything was on the line? Outside, the wind howled softly, hinting at the trials right around the corner. Jake glanced back at his teammates, feeling as if they were just at the edge of something vast. What would happen when the spotlight turned against them? As the sun dipped below the horizon, one question loomed large in his mind: could they rally not just for the game, but for each other? The next morning dawned with a heavy gray sky, clouds swirling above as if reflecting the storm brewing in Jake's heart. The chill of November lingered in the air, numbing his fingers as he managed his way onto the school's bleachers. Watching the boys gather again for practice, he felt a blend of pride and anxiety. The stands began to fill with parents and friends, eager to show their support. Jake caught snippets of their conversations as they settled in. Words like "this game will define them" floated through the air. The stakes felt impossibly high. Everyone seemed to hold their breath. He could sense their hopes resting on these boys, resting on his friends. Tommy stood at the center of the field, exuding energy despite the pressure. "All right, Eagles. This is our final stretch before the big day." He clapped his hands, compelling their attention. "Everyone's looking at us now. It's time to show them what we're made of." Jake gripped the railing, his heart racing. They felt so invincible last week, but now, doubt crept in. Each player huddled closer to one another, their faces a mix of excitement and fear. Tommy's voice rang out again, but this time the urgency caught Jake off guard. "We need to dig deeper. Let us focus on our teamwork." "What does that mean to us?" Jake thought of the whispered doubts he'd heard at practice, of the fear that had slipped into their hearts like a shadow. The bond they shared had felt so solid, yet now it wavered, swayed by the weight of the world outside their little game. Just then, he spotted Sam, the youngest member, fidgeting nervously on the sidelines, biting his nails. Anxiety flashed in his eyes, mirroring that of the team. They began their drills, and Jake could see Tommy working tirelessly to motivate his teammates, pushing them forward even as they tired. But every failed pass echoed like gunshots, the sound ricocheting off the bleachers. "Focus!" Tommy shouted, frustration tinging his voice as the team regrouped. Jake dropped his crutches, standing for a moment. He had to intervene. "Hey! Everyone, let us take a break." He couldn't help but feel they needed a different kind of energy to shake the fear loose. The team turned. Jake felt their collective gaze pierce him, but he found his voice. "Look, I know it's tough. I'm not out there physically, but I can feel what you're feeling. But this isn't just a game. It's about who we are together. Focus on what we've achieved. Remember when we believed in each other? We fought for every yard, and we never felt alone." Slowly, the tension shifted. Jake saw nods of agreement, teammates supporting each other. Tommy smiled, relief washing over him. "Let us remember our last game. It wasn't just about winning, it was about each other. This team is our family. And family doesn't let fear win." The boys set back into practice, renewed strength in their spirits. Jake felt a surge of hope, wishing he could join them on that field. But there was something deeper growing within him, a sense of belonging, a reminder that even from the sidelines, he was part of something incredible. As practice wrapped up, there was laughter and lightness in the air that hadn't been there before. But deep down, Jake still felt a tremor of uncertainty. The morning had brought some clarity, yet the looming Thanksgiving game was still wrapped in shadowed anticipation. Could their familial bond survive the unveiling of their true selves on that public stage? As the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the field, he whispered to himself, "We have to believe in each other." In that moment, he glanced toward the horizon, a new question flickering in his mind: what would it take to truly believe when it mattered most? The afternoon sun warmed the bleachers as practice wrapped up. Jake watched the team celebrate small victories, pats on backs and genuine smiles shared among them. He couldn't help but smile too, feeling the connection transcend the boundaries of the field. Each cheer sent ripples of reassurance through the air, pushing the doubts deeper into the background. As the boys migrated toward the locker room, Tommy's voice rose above the rest. "Listen up. Tomorrow, we face the press. You guys know the drill. It's gonna be intense, but we'll face it together." Jake's heart thumped harder. The thought of media attention, the questions, the discussions of their abilities, it made that knot in his stomach tighten again. He wanted to shout, to remind them to keep their hearts brave, but the words faded to silence. Instead, he leaned back against the rail, listening as laughter and chatter filled the space around him. Sam was particularly animated, his youthful excitement reigniting something in Jake. It was refreshing to see the younger players so alive with possibility. The players trickled into the locker room, and Jake moved to find a spot on the sidelines, his usual place. It wasn't just physical limitations anymore, he was growing increasingly aware of the mental walls he had constructed. Sam caught Jake's eye and dashed over, still bouncing on his feet. "Jake! Are you coming to the press thing? You have to. You speak so well." The bright eyes shone with belief, a belief Jake couldn't understand. What did he have to offer? "I don't know, Sam. I mean, I'm not really part of that world anymore." "Don't say that," Sam insisted, urgency rising in his tone. "You can help us. You've been through so much. If anyone knows what it means to push through, it's you. You're part of the Eagles, and that means something." The boy's passion resonated, echoing within Jake. Moments passed, but as Sam turned to rejoin the others, something sparked in Jake, a flicker of determination. Could he really contribute something still? The next morning brought more than just press obligations. The crisp air was electric, filled with the buzz of expectations and the kind of nerves that made everything feel tangible. As Jake arrived at the reporters' area, he noticed the swarm of people. Cameras clicked like a rapid-fire machine gun, nerves crackling in the energy of the crowd. Tommy stood in the center amidst the storm of flashing lights, answering questions with ease, charm pouring from him like honey. "We're ready. We've worked hard together," he affirmed, eyes twinkling with confidence. Jake felt a pang of longing. He wanted to be out there, leading the charge. Breathing deeply, Jake stepped closer. "Hey, Tommy, can I speak?" he called out, his voice breaking through the noise. Tommy turned sharply, surprise on his face quickly morphing into a broad smile. "Jake! Bring it on!" With a nod from Tommy, Jake's insides surged. He fought against the wave of self-doubt. He approached and joined Tommy at the forefront. As the cameras pivoted towards him, heart racing, he felt a moment of clarity wash over him. This was about more than just football, it was about connection. It was about every other kid who felt sidelined. "What I want to say is," Jake started, his voice firming. "We're not just a team. We're a family. And in a family, we lift each other up, no matter what." A ripple of silence pulsed through the crowd. The press, caught off guard, scribbled notes. Jake could feel the breath in his chest, words flowing more freely with every second. "What matters isn't just winning, it's about showing up for one another. It's about overcoming fears together. And as we face this challenge, we do it as one." His last words hung in the air, powerful yet vulnerable. He stepped back, their gazes still fixed on him. Jake knew he had shared a piece of himself. As Tommy wrapped up the questions, applause erupted all around. But as praises flooded in, Jake felt a new weight of responsibility to be part of this team, a protector of their spirit. Would they truly rise to meet the pressures of the game, and with it, the hopes that rested on their shoulders? Jake's heart raced as he wondered if this was just the beginning or if something much bigger awaited them. Whatever the outcome, he vowed to be there, leading by example. Tomorrow's game loomed closer, full of uncertainty. But perhaps it was in the chaos that they would find strength. The real question now rested in Jake's mind: would they truly harness their fears to fuel their passion? The morning of the Thanksgiving game dawned bright and cold, the sky a brilliant blue above Maple Grove. Jake stood in front of the mirror, a rough smile playing on his lips. He felt ready. The air was electric, an invitation to ignite their spirits once more. The weight of expectation still loomed heavily, but on this day, Jake leaned into it. Today wasn't just about winning, it was about proving who they were as a team. As the boys gathered in the locker room, chatter filled the air. Laughter bounced off the walls, and Jake joined in, feeling relief wash over him. Tommy stepped up, excitement lighting his face. "Today, we make history. Remember why we're here. It's not only our hearts on the field, but the hearts of everyone in this town." A chorus of cheers erupted. Their passion surged, a united front against all doubts. Jake felt the warmth of camaraderie enveloping him as they huddled together. He couldn't shake the feeling of gratitude surging within him. This family of players, with all their individual struggles, had come together time and time again. No matter what outcome awaited them, they had already made a mark. They were a team, like family, and that bond only grew stronger in the face of adversity. On the field, the energy crackled. The vibrant colors of the Eagles' uniforms blended with the backdrop of the sea of spectators. When Jake surveyed the stands, he spotted familiar faces, his mother among them, her heart full with pride. It ignited a fierce determination in him. He focused on the end zone, visualizing their success. The whistle blew, and the game commenced. As the game dragged on, tension built. With every play, the Eagles pushed forward, the symphony of cheers from their fans propelling them. But the atmosphere shifted as the rival team struck hard, pushing the Eagles back with fierce determination of their own. Jake could sense the hesitation creeping back into his team, like a dark cloud slowly consuming the day. In that moment of doubt, Jake recalled his grandfather's words, the lessons from the faded pages of a journal. "We rise, we regroup," he shouted, his voice cutting through the murmurs of uncertainty. The team looked toward him, their eyes brightening with renewed hope. They dug deep, channeling their inner strength. And when the clock hit the final quarter, a one-touchdown difference lingered like a ghost between victory and defeat. With every heartbeat, the urgency of the moment crescendoed, tension thickening the air. The Eagles rallied with a fervor that caught fire like never before. Jake positioned himself on the sidelines, crutches under his arms but spirit unbroken. The final play approached. They could feel the weight of the town's hopes hanging in the balance. The quarterback surveyed the field, breathing deeply. Time slowed, agony heavy in the air. With a flick of his wrist, the ball flew toward the receiver, spiraling through the perfect blue sky, towards destiny. The crowd collectively held their breath, a silence hanging over everyone like a tightly drawn bowstring. Would this mark the defining moment in their journey? Then, in a flash, the receiver soared, catching the ball, losing himself and the defenders in an exhilarating ballet for glory. The stadium erupted into chaos. Victory! Jake's heart soared, tears of joy slipping down his cheeks as he wobbled onto the field, crutches forgotten in the celebration of his family. Teammates rushed toward him, enveloping him in their ecstatic embrace. "Did you see that? We did it. We won." Their voices rang with disbelief and joy, breaking barriers of doubt in their hearts. In that euphoric moment, though, Jake knew this was just the beginning. They understood now that challenges were part of the journey. They had risen not just as individual players but as brothers, each tackle for one another, each play for the family they had forged along the way. As they celebrated together, Jake's heart swelled with pride. He remembered the whispers of doubt, fears that once haunted him. But today, those fears fizzled in the brilliance of their moment. "We are the Maple Grove Eagles," he shouted, the chant echoing across the field, alive with vibrancy. Feeling the weight of their journey held tightly in their collective embrace, the boys knew now that they could face whatever lay ahead. This was a turning point. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the world gold, Jake felt something shift inside him, a realization wrapped in the fabric of hope. They had not just triumphed that day, they had transformed into a force that would carry them beyond the field into their very lives. And so, as the celebration continued and Maple Grove became a loud testament to resilience, Jake held on to a simple truth: they rose for each other, finding purpose and strength together. This was not just the end. This was the dawn of something magnificent. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you can keep up with these incredible journeys. Leave a like now to fire up the algorithm and make sure everyone sees this transformation. Comment with your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by this story. You need to support this channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let us spread the magic of hope together.